The Emperor's New Clothes, retold by Michelle Dufresne, illustrated by Michael Chesworth. Many years ago, there lived an emperor who loved new clothes. He spent all of his money buying beautiful new suits and robes. The emperor's only ambition was to be well dressed. Each day he would parade through the city to show off his newest clothes. One day, two swindlers came to the emperor's city. They told the townspeople that they could weave a cloth with the most beautiful colors and patterns in the world. This is a special cloth that is only fit for an emperor, they said, but be warned, our fine cloth is invisible to anyone who is unfit for his or her office. It is so fine that only clever and honest people can see it. The emperor soon heard about the weavers. If I had a suit made of this wonderful cloth, I could discover which of my advisors are unfit for their offices, thought the emperor. I will know the clever folks from the not so clever folks. I must have this cloth woven for me. The emperor gave the weavers a bag of gold coins and asked them to set to work on his new clothes. The weavers set up two looms. They asked for the finest silk thread, but instead of using the silk, they only pretended to work at the empty looms. I would like to know if my suit is almost done, thought the emperor. I shall send my oldest, most honest adviser to the weavers. He can judge best how the cloth looks, for he is very smart and excellent at his job. So the good old adviser did as the emperor asked and went to the room where the swindlers were pretending to work. Oh dear, the old adviser thought, I cannot see anything at all. Come closer and look at this beautiful cloth, said one of the weavers. Do you not agree that this is the most beautiful cloth you have ever seen? The poor old adviser tried his very best, but he could not see anything. Oh dear, he thought. Can I be so stupid? Is it possible that I am unfit for my office? Tell us, what do you think? Asked one of the swindlers while he pretended to weave. Oh, it is pretty, exceedingly beautiful, replied the old adviser. What beautiful colors! I shall tell the emperor that I like the cloth very much. We are pleased to hear that, said the two weavers. The swindlers asked for more money, and they continued to work at the empty looms. Word of the magnificent cloth spread among the townspeople. At last the emperor wished to see it himself. He and all his advisers went to look at the weavers who were hard at work on the empty looms. What is this? Thought the emperor. I do not see anything at all. This is terrible. Am I unfit to be emperor? That would indeed be the most terrible thing that could happen to me. Well, he said finally, turning to the weavers, your cloth is quite beautiful. All the emperor's advisers looked and looked, and although they could see nothing, they agreed with the emperor. Oh yes, it is exquisite. You should wear the new clothes at a grand parade, said one of the advisers. All of the advisers nodded in agreement with this idea. The swindlers pretended to take the cloth from the loom. They cut in the air with big scissors and sewed with needles that had no thread. At last, they said, the emperor's new suit is ready. The emperor put on the new clothes, looked at himself in the mirror, and said, Don't I look wonderful in my new clothes? The emperor paraded down the streets of the city with all of his advisers marching behind him. The townspeople stopped and watched the emperor strutting down the street in his underwear. Indeed, the emperor's new suit is magnificent, they exclaimed. How well it fits him! None of the townspeople wished to let anyone know that they could only see his underwear. They were afraid to admit that they were not clever enough to see the emperor's new clothes. Finally, a small child in the crowd exclaimed, But he has nothing on at all. Soon everyone began to whisper what the child had said. But he has nothing on at all, cried everyone at last. The emperor looked down at himself, and he knew the child was right. He was marching down the street in just his underwear. But then he thought, I cannot let on. I must continue with the parade. The emperor marched on, pretending he was the only one clever enough to see his new clothes.